Hi, this is Praveen Gautam, your trusted dental marketing advisor. Now, in this episode, I have got my good friend Dallas, who is a trusted legal advisor. Good day, Dallas. How are you, mate?
I'm well, Praveen. Thank you for having me on this program of yours.
That's great,
Appreciate it.
mate. That's great. Yeah, we got a lot of actually. I often get a lot of questions about the legalities, especially HRs and legality. I understand, very interesting time. A lot of the healthcare practitioners, dentists, medical support, they are really not sure about what's HR legalities is, and obviously the legal issues what they're facing, or the leases especially, or the contracts.
Yeah,
So there are a number of issues, but what we thought is perhaps a couple of ideas for our viewers, for our community to understand. Hey, what can how we can help them, some tips and advice on the leases. So if that's okay.
absolutely, Praveen. That sounds like a
Beautiful.
good starting
All
step.
right, let me share my screen here, Dallas. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
So the first questions actually is from one of our community members. He mentioned how to navigate your lease, their lease and supply contracts. So could you please shed some light here?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, this has probably been the question that I've been asked more than any at this point in time. Really, the main question being the doomsday of, well, if I can no longer run my dental or medical practice
Mm-hmm.
from the place that I'm leasing.
Mm.
What are my rights and obligations? Am I still required to pay my rent on a monthly basis? If I don't have any income coming in, how am I meant to afford this?
Yes.
It wasn't until this morning, probably and late last night, from Scott Morrison, and then this morning Daniel Andrews, where they put a amortization period on your ability to evict tenants. So
Yes.
they're really encouraging
Mm.
landlords to exercise the commercial reality is such that right now we're living through some very difficult times,
Yes.
and the incentive is to come to a common agreement that can work with both parties. So really the government is taking the view of, well, if the tenant's suffering by virtue of the fact that no one's coming in, then the landlord should share some of that burden from the tenant.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And again, this is a this is a time, in this sort of the crisis, it's all about collaborative, isn't it, Dallas?
Absolutely, Robin. I
Mm.
think it's definitely the approach that worldwide that we're seeing is that people need to help one another out,
You
and you
bet.
can goodwill. If you're the
You bet.
landlord, you can really build goodwill with your tenant by entering into something that's more commercial and realistic at this point in time.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. So what you are saying, let me recap that I understood properly, is obviously that at least you can approach to your landlords to
yeah,
see what they can do. There is no any legal model or any
more
process as
period.
such,
Yep.
but at least the common approach, or just a norm, they can approach. So would there be any letters involved from the legal side, or would you just the approach in a common way? How would that work?
Great question. So, I mean, I think ultimately, wherever this is across all businesses and all matters that can involve lawyers, is that lawyers should be a matter of last resort. I think if you can give a relationship good enough with the landlord that you feel comfortable to speak to them directly about these
Yes.
matters, I think it saves everyone money and time by going down that route.
Yeah.
Actually, I would suggest that you get it in writing. So having a legal advisor draft your amendment to the lease
Yeah, bet.
would make sense from my point of view, and I think would be the step that the tenant and the landlord should take during this time.
Beautiful. Now that gives a very clear things. Anything you want to add up before we move to the second questions, Mike?
No, I mean, the only one thing I suppose is just that I think that this is a massive step that the government has taken.
Yeah.
To my understanding, more measures will be released, and this is a very fluid situation. And whenever you do enter into these arrangements, I think it is best to speak to your lawyer first, just from the
Yes.
perspective things very well might have changed from a legislative perspective. That'll change the best way to enter into this arrangement.
You bet. And obviously the things are changing. It's not just a month or two, but every week or two or every couple of days. So
Every day.
it is very
Yeah.
important to check with your trusted advisor, with the accountant, with your lawyer to make sure. And obviously you're happy to help as well. And thanks for the generosity. By the way, guys, if you just like this video, feel free to like, shares and comment. Yeah, and that can give us a really good feedback to me as well as to Dallas. So let's move to the second question, Dallas, if that's okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. The supply contracts is a slightly more.
Oh, sorry, contract. Yep.
Sorry.
Supply contracts.
Yeah. On the perspective of supply
Okay, successor planning. Yeah.
Oh, succession. Well, yeah. No, we can go with either way.
Yeah.
So with succession planning, this is probably, this is where people have been, the call to action here has been, well, I need to get my wills in place. I need my powers of attorney in place. And well, what happens if one of my business partners dies or becomes ill and is unable to perform their duty? How can I deal with this? So I'll start with the wills part from the first perspective, I suppose.
Please.
Yeah, it's clear. When events like this happen, pandemic is coming in place and death is all around you, people start to consider, well, what am I actually, how is this all going to be sorted out after my death?
Yes.
Big believers that it's much better to put things into a will, your wishes, so that there's clear directions for your beneficiaries as to what you want to take place.
Yes.
And if you have children, well, who do you want to look after your children? And also, who would you want to manage their affairs until they're of an age where they can look after the monies themselves? So the questions that we've been asked have been mainly around, well, when do I need to get a will put in place? As to what level of assets do I require? And how do I best protect my children later on in life? So I'll start with step number one. As a starting point, I think everyone needs a will.
Yes.
Ultimately, we all are worth more dead than we are alive.
Yes, totally.
That is to take. We all often will have life insurance, we'll have superannuation, and we'll have assets in our own individual name. So we all do have a level of wealth that's considerable and would help our beneficiaries. And the second step is, well, how do I protect my children? And I think really this is a really important one for parents to think about. And that is, well, who would you feel comfortable looking after your children and looking after their money? So I think both of those questions and factors are things that we can assist you with.
Yeah.
The other part of your succession plan is your succession plan is not just a will. It also encompasses powers of attorney. So if you're, God forbid, struck with coronavirus and you're in ICU or the like, well, who's going to manage your financial affairs on your behalf?
You bet. That's very, very important. And especially, I was wondering, that more applies in healthcare workers, who are in a front line, because to be honest, they are exposed. So it's a matter of, getting these things in place and take this seriously.
Absolutely, Pravin. And right now with VCAT out of commission, it'd be actually quite an interesting question as to how you can even gain power to become a financial power of attorney. So again, I think it's always much better if you can, while you have capacity to put things in writing. So,
you bet. And that's a great advice, Mike. So anything you want to add before we move to the contractors? We'll touch on the contractor. So what's your thought on the contractor then? obviously once they have a process about the lease, and then what they're going to do about the staff or contractor. That's one of the biggest
Yep.
questions. What's your thought on it?
Absolutely. So there are stand-down provisions provided in Section 524 of the Fair Work Act, which enable you to stand down your employees if they're unable to be a sense of use. So worst case scenario, let's just say your dental practice becomes shut down,
Yes.
and work no longer can be flow into your business naturally because you no longer have the ability to work. The Act provides you with the ability to stand down your employees. You would have noted that last week, a fair few retailers were actually wanting the government to provide that their retail shops weren't essential services in order
Yes.
to do such a thing, to stand down their employees without having to pay them a redundancy package. So this is quite a relief for employers because
Yes.
once you start having to pay employees and rent and all of these and business loans, how on earth are you meant to afford to actually live yourself? So
Yes.
this certainly is, although very sad. I mean, we've seen with Qantas something in the order of 20 to 30,000
Yes.
staff let off, and there's this sort of force, I suppose, a cyclical force where as soon as one pillar comes down, it's like a set of dominoes. So
Yes.
it is very sad,
And
but right now
and
it's about self-preservation.
and it all comes with a contract as well, so isn't it? And how the contract is flexible, agreement, and those sort of is very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think naturally in every situation it's slightly different. So you'd want to seek legal advice per situation,
Yes.
because sometimes if you do stand down an employee without cause of being able to stand down an employee, harsh penalties can be imposed. So
Yep.
it's best to.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Thanks for the great tips, man. I really appreciate it. Obviously, we are doing the full day event. I'm sharing with Dallas. That's upcoming one, which is obviously people can come to the event and obviously understand more or ask more questions to Dallas. But it all comes with what actions you're taking today, isn't it? I mean, people, there's so many news or so many updates going on. Literally everyone is doing the webinars or the videos or the things, but it all comes with knowing is one thing, but doing or implementing is another thing.
correct.
So the question is, what are you going to do about the HR legalities? What are you going to do about the leases? Would you be in touch with the landlords? And
Yeah,
about, as you mentioned, about the the succession planning or your
yeah,
wills or attorney. So it's very, very important. So it's something they have to consider it to take the business and life in a peaceful way. Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, I think you've hit it on the head, Pravin. But if I were to give us four key points of what you should be doing today, they would be going to speak to your landlord
Yep.
and seeing what arrangement you can reach, one that's
Yes.
feasible for you,
Yes.
one that's feasible for them naturally, and this will apply equally to your supply contracts.
Yes.
So much the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be looking at getting your wills and powers of attorney in place.
Mm-hmm.
We all think we're Superman, but ultimately these documents will come into play at some point in time.
Yes.
And naturally, I'd be speaking to your lawyer or about ramifications for your staff and whether you
Yes.
have the ability to stand them down.
Yes.
And lastly, I'd be suggesting that you have a look at the stimulus package initiatives that the government have been releasing, and they will seem to be ongoing release. The US have just announced signed over the weekend a $3 trillion Australian dollar stimulus package, and it
Beautiful.
seems that Australia will be doing much the same.
No, thank you for the quick bullet points is very, very helpful. So as I mentioned, obviously we are doing how to recession proof your dental practice, and moreover, we'll be also focusing on other healthcare, literally other healthcare, including the medical center. So if you think that this can be a value, 29th of April, 10 a.m. Melbourne time, obviously we'll be recording as well as doing a Facebook Live. So um, either you can go to follow our pages, or if you're already friend with Dallas, Padma, Dr. Padma, or myself, Albert, we would be doing Facebook Live as well. Just the whole idea of these kinds of session is to add a value to our community and give back. And because this is a very unknown time, so the fear is how to help our community, and isn't it pretty much that's the whole name of the game.
Correct. Absolutely, Pravin.
Mm.
Helping one another.
Absolutely, it's very, very important. So also, Dallas, if the viewers, if they want to know more about, if they need help on the wills, or any of the things what you mentioned, including the contracts, you are happy to provide 30 minutes free consultation, Dallas?
Absolutely. I think that's the least that I can do in this time is, or that any of us can do in this time, is at least give some time to the people at the front line, being medical professionals and dental practitioners.
Very important. Now, thank you for that generosity, Matt. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you want to add up and say anything to the viewers who are watching this right now?
No, just stay safe and just ensure that let it be known that at the end of all of this, there will be a time where
Exactly, and obviously take care. After, besides taking care of you and your family, stay focused on the growth, and that's all important because you have worked such a hard to establish where you are at. And obviously, when we go to other end, this will certainly be normal. So it's just a matter of hanging there, be patient, and follow the rules, literally, isn't it? Beautiful.
Thanks,
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Dallas. By the way, if you like this video, please feel free to share, comments, and like it. Other than that, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, mate.
Done.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye for now.